Shalom. Before I get started, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors unto the head apostles of Great Millstone, who do rule well and teach well with sound doctrine. Shalom. And to the elders and the elder bishops of Great Millstone as well. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings unto the hopeful elect, the men, women, and children, listening and learning from the servants and prophets of Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, and a hearty shalom to those servants and prophets teaching and preaching in truth and sincerity, building up the tabernacle of David in these last days through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, giving diligence to make their calling and election sure. Shalom. And last but not least, a hearty shalom to the men of valor and DTA camps spread all across Babylon the Great, prophesying the downfall of this wicked kingdom as well. Shalom, shalom. So back at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahshai. Adon Rathazah, Yahweh Rathazah, may the lesson be edifying. And this lesson is going to go into the headlines that have been jumping off of the news pages as of the past 2 days, which are actually biblical prophecies jumping off the scripture pages if you have the eye salve to see what's going on. So we'll start off with the first article, which came out in the wee hours of the morning today, Monday, January 24th, 2022, the year of Yahweh Bashem Yahshai turning up, the year of the amplification. And it reads as such: Pentagon reveals number of U.S. troops on high alert over Ukraine. So it says some 8,500 U.S. troops have been told to be ready, but no decision to deploy them, the Pentagon said. And it reads as such. We'll read the first 3 paragraphs. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has placed 8,500 troops on heightened preparedness to deploy to Europe in case NATO decides to activate its rapid response force over the ongoing situation in Ukraine, the Pentagon said on Monday. And what we have going on in the Eastern Europe section, right near Donbass, right near the Crimean Peninsula, is what's looking like to be the beginning stages of what's looking like to be World War III. Because if this situation escalates, which it's looking like it's going to, with Russia and the Ukraine, NATO's going to jump in, the United States is going to jump in, and they're going to have eventually World War III kick off. At the same time that this is happening, the charagma is being introduced. Elon Musk says, he's looking to get human guinea pigs in the next few months. FDA approval as well for the brain grain. Also at the same time, worldwide food shortages. Also at the same time, a massive pestilence that's crippling economies, crippling the way people live, affecting every single society, every single country, around the globe. Also at the same time, you have what's looking to be food shortages in the next couple months. With those food shortages being felt in Babylon the Great on massive levels pretty soon. At the same time that this is all happening, you have the mass awakening. You know, the two sticks coming together. Also at the same time, earthquakes in diverse places. You know, the love of many waxing cold. People taken to the streets and uproars of the people. People invading one another. Also at the same time, while all this is happening, you have the house of Saul, men who are in the spirit of the house of Saul, better yet, waxing worse and worse. You know, all end time biblical prophecies. Once again, if you have the eye salve to see it. Let's keep it going with this article. Second paragraph. The troops have been placed on higher alert only, and no final decision has been made to deploy them. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby told reporters. The deployment may happen if and when NATO decides to activate its Rapid Response Force, NRF, NATO Response Force, which consists of about 40,000 troops from various member countries. And eventually, these allies of Babylon the Great are going to turn on Babylon the Great. The Spains, you know, the United Kingdom, France looking like it's already doing it, you know, Australia, so on and so forth. And that's talked about in Revelation, the 17th chapter. And NATO is a part of the beast. NATO, the EU, and Babylon the Great, you know. Let's read the third paragraph again from the top. The deployment may happen if and when NATO decides to activate its Rapid Response Force, which consists of about 40,000 troops from various member countries. Kirby said the U.S. maintains significant combat capable forces forward in Europe to deter aggression. Next article. NATO announces major new deployment. It said the military bloc says the move is a response to the Russian posturing. And what has Russia done this past week? Well, they've moved, you know, tons of, you know, military equipment, tanks, you know, ships, actual ICBM missiles, you know, in a show of military muscle. You know, they have ships off the coast of Ireland. They have ships already in the Donbas area, south of Russia, you know. They have 100,000 or so troops on the border of Ukraine, you know, just waiting for somebody to make the wrong move, or somebody to make a move, better yet. It says the military bloc says the Russian move is a response to Slovakia. The military bloc says the move is a response to Russian posturing. NATO members will order more fleets and fighter planes into Eastern Europe amid a worsening standoff with Russia, with the bloc citing reports that Moscow is building up troops on its side of the Ukrainian border. Next article, and it reads as such. War drums. Russia deploys hundreds of packed military trains. Also, they deployed, you know, ships off the coast of Ireland and the other places as well. You know, they've been seen in the past few days moving rockets, ICBMs as well. And this thing could kick into high gear tomorrow, man. I don't rate it does. And it says Biden has 8,500 troops prepared to deploy, could send 50,000. NATO sending warships and jets. And it says Russian forces continue to arrive in Belarus for joint military drills February 10th to 20th amid U.S. and NATO alarm that they could be used to attack Ukraine from the north. The closing ceremony at their Winter Olympics is on February 20th. Next article. Then we'll go into the scriptures. And it reads as such. Germany roiled by political earthquake. Navy chief resigns after saying Putin deserves respect, warning China is not a nice country. So you have China and Russia clicked up. Also Iran, is clicked up with those guys as well. And it's only a matter of time, before other nations join the party. It's only a matter of time. Let's just read this first paragraph right here. So it says, actually, you know what? Pretty much speaks for itself, So what you have being played out is the beginning stages of World War III. What's looking like to be the beginning stages of World War III. And we believe through the Spirit that it is. So let's go into the scriptures. Let's go into it. So, Revelation 8 and 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven. I'm going to start from the top. Got a little excited. Revelation 8 and 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, woe, woe. Symbolic of World War I, World War II, and World War III. Woe means destruction. Start again from the top. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, woe, woe. 3 woes. To the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels, which are yet to sound. And the reason why this is written this way, because these are prophecies that are yet to be revealed to John, the Revelator, because they're revealed in the book of Revelation, the 9th chapter, and Revelation, the 17th chapter, the 18th chapter as well, which talks about the destruction of Babylon. Also, these are visions that haven't been played out yet. These are future prophecies. Let's go into Revelation, the 9th chapter. And if you read Revelation, the 9th chapter, from 1 through 11, it's talking about World War I, which the apostles went into this weekend. I'll start from the 12th verse, which is talking about World War III, down to the 20th verse or so. And it says, one woe is past, talking about World War I, which Revelation, the 9th chapter, 1 through 11 goes into. And behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter, talking about World War II and World War III, which Revelation 9, 12 through 20 goes into World War III. We're going to go into it a little bit. Revelation 9 and 13, and the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before the Most High, saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. What four angels? The four angels holding back the four winds, the destruction. Revelation 7 and 1. And after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor any tree. And those angels are still holding back the destruction. But we're coming into a time where, that prophecy is going to come to pass. And the prophecy comes to pass after all the elect are sealed. Revelation 7 and 2, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels that are being mentioned right here, Revelation 9 and 14, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. The angels holding back the destruction, holding back the four winds. Revelation 7 and 2, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. Going back to the Tawa, the mark of exemption from judgment. Let's just get that. Ezekiel 9 and 4. And the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai said unto him, talking to the death angel, Yep. This is Ezekiel 9 and 4. And the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, which is the people before it's a place, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And that's the mark that the angels are looking for, Those four angels, saying, Revelation 7 and 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. Going back into Ezekiel 9 and 4, and the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, which is the people before it's a place, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. The elect, who have the Tawa, the exemption from judgment. Back into the book of Revelation, the 9th chapter, in the 15th verse, and the four angels were loose. Which four angels? Four angels that are talked about in the book of Revelation, the 7th chapter, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. And that's going into Esau, Edom's kingdom, in Esau, Edom, everyone but the elites of Esau, Edom, who are being preserved for slavery, But the third part of men is going into Esau, Edom, the children of the wicked, because there's three classifications of men. You have the sons of God, Yasha Allah, the sons of men, which are the sons of the heathen nations, and you got the sons of the wicked going into Esau, Edom. Revelation 9:16, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. This is talking about the ICBM missiles. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, horses going into power, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire. This is going into the ICBM missiles. And adjacent and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. And out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Going into the warheads, you know? Because you have the ICBM missile, which has several parts, you know? Let's just get a picture of it because I had it pulled up. You know? You have the actual warhead, and then you have the delivery system, you know, so on and so forth. And there's different size ICBM missiles. I'll bring that out a little later. Revelation 9:17, again from the top. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having the breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. Out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed, going into Esau, Edom's kingdom destroyed. You know, Babylon the Great. By the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths, the ICBM missiles, the warheads, you know. Revelation 9:19, for their power is in their mouth, and in their tails were their tails like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Going into the delivery system, you know, when the ICBM shot in the air, you have the delivery system that carries the intercontinental ballistic missile from Europe over here, or from, you know, the Middle East over here, or from China over here, so on and so forth. And then you have the warhead. After the delivery system delivers it to a certain point, the warheads break off and they hit their targets. Revelation 9:20, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, going into the elite bankers. And also, you have 2/3 of our people who follow the ways of Esau, Edom, and they're not going to repent as well. So they're gonna suffer this judgment as well. You know, they're going to suffer the judgment of Esau, Edom. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. And you have 2/3 of our people who live like beasts. They live like Esau, Edom. So they're going to suffer the fate of Esau, Edom. Let's get, I think it's Proverbs 11:21, or maybe 21:11. Yep, Proverbs 11:21. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. And you have our people join hand in hand with them, man. Isaiah 13. I want to say it's 11. Everyone join on to them. Yep. Isaiah 13:15. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So you're going to fall by these intercontinental ballistic missiles. You know, the teeth of wild beasts. Some of y'all is going to fall victim to the juicy juice. Some of y'all are going to get taken out by your own people, you know, in Jacob's trouble. So on and so forth. You know, the FEMA camps and starvation. Let's get Sirach 13 and 1. He that toucheth pit shall be defiled therewith, and he that hath fellowship with a proud man shall be like unto him. So you have 2/3 of our people who live like Esau Edom. You know, their deeds have surpassed the wicked. You know, that's in the book of Jeremiah, roughly paraphrasing, you know. So they're going to have to be put down and be brought back in the kingdom, you know. And those are the people who are living just like Esau Edom. They're not going to repent either, you know. Just like the elite bankers aren't going to repent. You have 2/3 of our people who've been brainwashed by the wine of the fornication, of Esau Edom and his way of life that he's fed our people so badly that they're going to have to be purged out. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And that's why, you know, this precept came out first. Revelation 8 and 13, and I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, 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 going into the three wars, the three world wars. World War I, which is in Revelation, the 9th chapter, 1 through 11. And then you got World War II, which is not in Revelation at all. You know. Then you got World War III, which is in Revelation, you know. The 9th chapter, 12 through 20. And you got other scriptures that go into the Third World War, you know, which are going to come out in this lesson, as well as other scriptures as well that go into end time prophecy, you know. Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reasons of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound. And those prophecies came later on in the book of Revelation, the 9th chapter, the 17th chapter, and so on and so forth. Let's keep it going. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And there's a precept that goes into the second woe, you know, as far as Revelation, the 13th chapter. Just reminded me thinking of it. Let's just bring it out. Let's lock here. Yep. Revelation 13 and 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And that's going into the ICBM missiles. And the first version of the nuclear bomb was introduced in World War II. Fat Man and Skinny Boy, you know? Let's bring it back though. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And this third woe, you know, is looking like this is going to be it, man. This is looking like the conflict that's going to draw everybody in, because you have all the major players, you know, peeking their head over the fence of what's going on in that backyard over there, you know, between Russia and the Ukraine, man. And everybody's looking like they're about to jump in. This is Isaiah 9 and 5. This is talking about World War III. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood, talking about the old way of warfare, where you would have clinking of the swords, you know, You'd have men actually on the field of battle, dying because they got hit with an arrow or dying because they got hit with a cannon, so on and so forth. The old way of warfare, medieval warfare, so on and so forth. Warfare before, even warfare going into World War I, where you had a lot of, men dying, and they weren't able to be given the type of care that you can get now as far as antibiotics and so on and so forth. They would just amputate your leg, give you some alcohol and give you some wood to bite on, or give you a towel to bite on, Slack it. Isaiah 9:5, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise. The Civil War going into the Revolutionary War and then war before that. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Talking about World War III. Isaiah the 34th chapter. Come ye, this is Isaiah 34:1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is herein, the world and all things that come forth of it. So everybody's got to hear this word. Everybody's got to hear the report in some way, form, or fashion. Whether it's a few precepts rolling out at camp, you walk by a camp, you just hear a few brothers, going in on Esau, or you actually, sit down and watch a lesson, so on and so forth. You're going to hear this word in some way or fashion. Because the heathens got to hear their judgment. Esau, Edom, has to be told his ways to his face. The 2/3, got to be told their judgment if they don't tighten it up. And simultaneously, the house of David needs to be built up. Isaiah 34:2. For the indignation of Adonai Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. And all their armies is going to be eventually drawn down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, which is just south of the area the conflict is in. If you look at the world map, we'll just pull it up. This area where the conflict is, it's right around here. This area right here. It's like my phone is tripping, Where's it at? It's right around here. That's where it's at, We'll just pull it up. Donbass. Boom. So that's where it's at. Donbass, the Crimean Peninsula, right around here. This is the area where, they're having the conflict, The Ukraine right here, and this is the border, Eastern Ukraine. And if you just go south, look where you have south of that conflict area, If you just draw a straight line south, boom, the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, right here, So eventually, it's going to come down to that. But the servants and prophets of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai, we got to speak these things into existence, through prophesying. Isaiah 34:2, for the indignation of Adonai Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He had utterly destroyed them. He had delivered them to the slaughter. And that's exactly what's going to happen to them. When they go down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, they're going to stop fighting each other eventually, and they're going to try to fight the Lord. and they're going to lose terribly. Their slain also shall be cast out. Their stink shall come up out of their carcasses. And who's going to be burying the dead? The wicked elite. You know? The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, you know? And all their constituents. Klaus Schwab, you know? What's that dude? George Soros, you know? Bill Gates, BG, Elon Musk, all the elites, Jeff Bezos. Those are going to be the ones burying the dead. They're going to die in the Third World War. And you can read about that in Ezekiel, the 39th chapter. Isaiah 34:3, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. All the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. Going into when the ICBMs hit their destinations, man. There's going to be smoke going up to the heavens. You know? And that's literally, let's just show what happened in Hiroshima. Just to give you a visual. Slack it for the phone speed. Boom. So give me a graphic. Come on. Just go to news, images. But that's the heavens rolled together as a scroll, you know? Right there, it's a visual of it. Boom. You know? Boom. Isaiah 34:4, all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, as the falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Going into when the ICBMs are launched, you know, they're going to go up to the heavens, man, you know, to the highest point. They're going to be shot off and they're going to look like stars, you know? Let's like it. It's a different topic. Isaiah 34:5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Going into, you know, the ICBMs. When they go to the highest point, the delivery system, which I brought up a little earlier. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. Who's Idumea? Esau, Edom. Babylon the Great. You know? Basra. You know, the chief capital of Esau, Edom. Where he runs, you know, the world from, basically. This is the place where everything comes from. As far as trends, you know, lifestyles, so on and so forth. You know, he pushes that wine bottle on Babylon the Great, then he gets the whole world drunk off of it. He pushes the Babylon the Great first, and then he gets the whole rest of the world drunk off of it. You know? It's like, let me light an incense. Let me light a frankincense. Isaiah 34:5, again from the top. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. And who's that people of the curse to judgment? Esau, Edom. You know? So-called white men. Isaiah 34:6, for the sword of Yahweh Bashim Yashai is filled with the blood. For the sword of Yahweh Bashim Yashai is filled with blood. It is made with the fat of fatness. It is made fat with fatness, Salakia, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of kidneys and rams. For the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yashai had a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Basra being the chief capital of Esau, Edom, the chief capital of Edom back in the day, and Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom. You know, which actually reminds me of Zephaniah, actually, the first chapter talks about the sacrifice in the day of the Lord. God. Yep. Zephaniah 1:7, hold thy peace at the presence of Adonai Yahweh Bashim Yashai power, for the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yashai is at hand. And it's at hand. It's near than we believe, man. For the day, Slaka, for the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yashai is at hand, for the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yashai had prepared a sacrifice. He had bid his guests of the marriage, also his guests to be destroyed. It had come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice that I will punish the princes and the king's children. Esau, Edom's children, man. You know, the princes and kings of this eon, of this age, you know, and their children, and all such that are clothed with strange apparel, that are clothed with the garment of Babylon the Great, you know. Let me see. Yeah, Khan. Oh, yeah, okay. Khan. This is Isaiah, the 13th chapter, in the 17th verse. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Who's the Medes? Russia, the bear. And Russia's getting stirred up, man. You know? All these headlines are because of that conflict that's in that eastern Ukraine area, Donbass, the Crimean Peninsula. And Russia is set to, it looks like it's set to invade the Ukraine. And eventually other nations are going to get drawn into that conflict. That's what it's looking like more and more every day. Isaiah 13:17, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows shall dash the young men to pieces, going into the missiles, you know, the flying swords. That'll come out a little later in this lesson. And they shall have no pity in the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. So you're going to have, you know, little kids, you know, getting burnt up too, you know. Yahweh Bashim Yashai is not a respecter of persons, man. Men, women, and children, all getting burnt up, man. The only ones that are going to be able to survive is the elite, who are going to be hidden in caves and hidden in bunkers and so on and so forth, who are going to have to be dug up out of them, and the elect. And then remnants of heathen all over the world for slavery. Isaiah 13:19, and Babylon, modern day Basra, Idumea, and Babylon, Babylon the Great, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees excellency, Salakia, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. What happened with Sodom and Gomorrah? It got burnt up, fire and brimstone. This modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, modern day Egypt, modern day Mizraim, you know, Montezarium, the house of bondage, is going to get burnt up again. Modern day Egypt is going to get burnt up, better yet. you know? And Yahweh Shem Yahshai is plaguing Egypt, modern day Egypt, as he did old Egypt, you know? Plague by plague. The pestilence, you know, a famine coming pretty soon, you know? Swords are going to be on the people as well, who bow down to the image, who took the charagma, you know? Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, in the 22nd verse. The sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. And that sound of battle and great destruction is these nations bucking up against one another, man. You know, moving military equipment around, you know, shooting off nukes, you know, testing, you know, their ballistic missiles, so on and so forth. Nations barking at each other. Jeremiah 50 and 23, how was the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? And that hammer of the whole earth is talking about Babylon the Great, who's basically run around the past, you know, 100 or so plus years, deboing everybody, man. Just punking everybody through their military might, you know, through their sword. Jeremiah 50 and 23, how was the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? And the reason why Esau Edom is called the hammer of the whole earth is because he has all these military bases and embassies set up all over the places, all over the place. Keeps on happening, Slakia. You know, all over the place he has these military bases set up and these bunkers set up, you know. Jeremiah 50 and 23, how was the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations, going into Babylon the Great, you know? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware thou art found. For I made Esau bare, and also caught, because thou hast striven against Adawan Yahweh Shem Yahshai. And that snare is going to be the weapon for your own demise. You know, you're going to destroy your own ass, man. Esau's so diabolical, he's going to destroy himself. Isaiah 54 and 16, behold, I've created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. What work? His own destruction. He's going to blow his own self up. Behold, I've created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. And that smith is talking about the Temanites, you know, who were the inventors of the atom bomb, you know, which became the atomic bomb. The first nuke ever, basically, you know. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. And that waster is Esau Edom, who's going to destroy his own self. Esau Edom goes back to wasted away he is. Waste away is he. He's going to waste his own self. Just sit back and watch the show, you know. Isaiah 50 and 24, Isaiah 50 and 25. The Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai hath opened his armory. What's his armory? The ICBM missiles, man. You know? And the Spirit of the Lord is going to be in those missiles, man. That's why they're not going to miss their target. They're going to hit their mark. Every single one of them. The Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. The weapons that Esau Edom is boasting around. The weapons that these heathen nations like North Korea are, you know, boasting around as well. Those are going to be the weapons to do away with Esau Edom's rulership, man. The Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai, power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. Let's get a precept that backs up America being the land of the Chaldeans. Isaiah 47, I would think it's about 2 or 3. Might be 1. Yeah, Isaiah 47 and 1. Yep. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Talking about Babylon the Great. Because the daughter comes after you, you know. O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Why? Because it's going to get burnt up. Jeremiah 50 and 25, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of Adawan Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, power of hosts, power of armies. In the land of the Chaldeans, come against her from the uttermost border. Open her store cases, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. And these ICBM missiles, they're going to come from the utmost borders of the earth, coming from the east all the way to the west. China, North Korea, Iran, the European nations that are going to hate you eventually and turn on you, man. They're going to all launch their nukes right here, you know? That's a future prophecy, you know, that's talked about in the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter. You know, Revelation 17, I think it's about the 13th verse, you know? Let's just get it. Revelation 17. I want to say it's 13. Or 16, Slakia. Yep. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, NATO, these shall hate the whore and make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Going into your own allies, man. They're going to turn on you. Oh, Slakia. Where's I just said? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Jeremiah 50 and 26. Come up, Slakia, come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. This place is going to be a wilderness. You know? We'll bring that out next. Joel, the 2nd chapter. Let's start with the 3rd verse. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. And Babylon the Great is going to be like a desolate wilderness. It's talked about in the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter, which I had right here. Let's just get it real quick. Revelation 18 and 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having the great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, unclean beasts, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So nothing but unclean things are going to be here in Babylon the Great, you know. It's going to be an example of what happens when you come against the Lord's people, when you come against Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. It's going to be a big desert, you know, when it's all said and done. Joel 2 and 3, a fire devoured them, and is behind them a flame, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses going into the ICBM missiles. Horses going into power, you know. And as horsemen, so shall they run. And that's what came out a little earlier in Revelation, the 9th chapter. You know, let's just get it real quick. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them, going into the, number of missiles, warheads. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, which is complementing Joel, the second chapter. And them that sat on them, having the breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. Going into them, having teeth, a lion has teeth, and teeth are weapons, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Going into the eventual result when those warheads hit. Back into the book of Joel, the second chapter. Yeah, I had it right here. Yeah, Joel, the second chapter. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, complementing the book of Revelation, the ninth chapter. And as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots and the tops of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. So they're going to be, literally hitting their targets, man. And all you're going to see is flames of fire, brimstone, smoke, going up to the heavens. And all it's going to be left is stubble when it's all said and done. Joel 2:6, before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. For the day of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai, is darkness and not light. It's going to be a very dark day, man. Joel 2:7, they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. So back in the day, when you would have war against somebody, you would have men, they would have to climb over the wall, or they would have to somehow, I'm looking for the exact terminology. They would have to break the wall, or somehow conquer that wall, the wall of the city. That's what's parabolically being compared to. They're going to be able to penetrate the walls of these cities, in the form of the defense system of Babylon the Great. Also, they're going to be able to hit their targets with perfection. Philadelphia, New York, Los Angeles, St. Louis, Miami, so on and so forth. Penetrate. Back in the day, when you would take somebody's city, you would have to penetrate the walls of their city. And the nuclear defense system that we have, they're going to be able to penetrate that system and go right over the wall and hit every single city and every single target. I was thinking of that word and it came to me. Joel 2:7, they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. They're not going to break their ranks. They're not going to, touch each other. They're going to be right there in unison, man, and go hit exactly where they're supposed to hit. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. They're going to hit their targets precisely. And when they shall fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. They shall run to and fro in the city. Going into the walls, being penetrated, and they'll be able to hit their targets. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. Which reminds me of a few precepts, because as these ICBM missiles are hitting, the chariots are also going to be coming as well, to beam up the elect and to visit the house of the thief and enter into the house of the thief and bring them up out of those mountains and bring them up out of those, what do they call them? Underground cities, those deep underground military bunkers. And also, the day of the Lord cometh as a thief in the night to those who aren't watching. Let's just get that. We'll go back to the book of Joel, the second chapter. It's like it. 1 Thessalonians 5. Let's get the precept while the iron's hot. Wow, come on, auto spell. 1 Thessalonians 5. But the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, because the men of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai were supposed to be measuring the time diligently by watching, which if you read later on in this chapter about the 4th, 5th, and 6th verse, 7th verse, it goes into not sleeping. We'll just get those as well. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 2, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. It comes as a thief in the night to those who aren't on their watch. We don't know the time or the hour or the exact day, but we can gauge when he's supposed to return by the prophecies. So Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is going to come as a thief in the night to those who aren't watching, those outside the circle, those who are falling asleep, Let's get 3 as well. This is beautiful. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. And sudden destruction is coming upon people who are bound down right now in the form of complications, from the spiked Kool-Aid that they're advertising on television. And eventually, woe and destruction is going to come onto them that eventually take this next thing that they're advertising to you. This charagma thing, man. And it's here. For when they shall say peace and safety, and that's what Esau Edom is saying. That's what these other congregations are saying. There's not going to be any Jacob's trouble. You shall have no trouble. That's the report. Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Escape what? The teeth of wild beasts, the third woe, and the destruction that's going to come thereof. When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Gerber troops, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, your own people, not wanting to wait upon Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the non-believers purging each other out. You're not going to survive any of those things, man. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief. Why? Because you're watching. Ye are the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor in darkness, because we have the eyesight, we have the light, the word. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep in the night, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. Drunken in the night, meaning they're without this light. They're walking in darkness, drunk off the wine of Babylon. Back into the lesson, as far as the main topic. Just wanted to add a little clarification and edification on that precept. Joel 2 and 9 again. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb upon The houses they shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The earth's going to rock to and fro like a drunkard. You know? The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard and rock to and fro like a drunkard. The heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. You know? Joel 2:11, and the Lord Yahweh shall utter with his voice before his army. For his camp is very great, for he is strong that executeth his word. And none of the words going to come back void. All these prophecies are going to hit. For the day of the Lord Yahweh is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? None but the elect, you know? And the elite and the remnants of heathen are going to be preserved for slavery. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. And let's start with the 37th verse. Now, if you read this in a different version, the newly revised standard version, 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, it goes into this section right here, 34 down to 45. It says the judgment on Babylon. That's not talking about ancient Babylon. It's talking about Babylon the Great. 2nd Ezra 15 and 37. And there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth, which is going to happen when the ICBM missiles hit, you know. And they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. You know? 2nd Ezra 15 and 38. And then shall there come great storms from the south and from the north, and another part from the west. And those great storms is going into destruction, you know. And strong winds shall arise from the east. What strong winds? Let's go to Jeremiah 51. The destroying wind, you know. Jeremiah 51. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shai, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, talking about Babylon the Great, which this chapter, if you read the newly standard revised version, newly revised standard version, it has, you know, everything broken into, you know, sections. And this section right here that we're going into is the judgment of Babylon, Babylon the Great, which Jeremiah the 51st chapter is going into. Jeremiah 51, Salakia. Jeremiah 51 and 1. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shai, behold, I will rise up against Babylon the Great, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. Plagues, you know, the ICBM missiles. And will send unto Babylon fanners. And that destroying wind is the plague of the ICBM missiles, you know. And that reminds me of Revelation, the 7th chapter. The angels holding back the four winds. You know, which came out a little earlier. You know. And will send unto Babylon fanners, that shall fan her, and shall empty her land for the day of trouble. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Yep. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth up himself in brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy her utterly and all her hosts. And that's what's going to happen. You know, this place is going to be burned. You know, let's get Malachi 4:1. That reminds you of Malachi, the 4th chapter. Yep. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. And that day is coming nearer and nearer to fruition. We're reading about it right now. And we're seeing the beginning signs of that day coming to pass happen before our very eyes. Once again, if you have the eyesalve to see. Malachi 4:1. For the day that cometh shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, Esau, Edom, and those that live like him, yea, and all that do wickedly, shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them as slack, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord Yahweh Shai of hosts, the Lord of armies, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Root nor branch will be left. Not one relic of Babylon the Great. And destroying wind is going into the ICBM missiles, you know. And strong winds shall arise from the east, and shall open it, and the cloud which he raiseth up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause fear toward the east, and west wind shall be destroyed. And that star is going into the tempest, which is also going into a violent windy storm. Destruction, you know? If you read this in the NRSV, and chew the meat, spit out the bones, and you read some of these different versions, you know? But we'll read this in the NRSV real quick. We just read, I want to make sure I'm good. Yeah, 2nd Ezra 15:39. In the NRSV, the newly revised standard version, it says, but the wind from the east shall prevail over a cloud that was raised in wrath, and shall dispel it, and the tempest that was to cause destruction by the east wind shall be driven violently toward the south and west, going into the destruction, you know? That tempest is a violent windy storm, the destroying wind. You know, the missiles, man, you know? 2nd Ezra 15:40. The great and mighty cloud shall be puffed up full of wrath, going into the heavens being rolled as a scroll, which came out a little earlier, you know? And the star, the tempest, you know, the violent windy storm, and they that make all the earth afraid, and the star that they may make all the earth afraid, and them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out every high and eminent place, and horrible star. And that horrible star is going into wormwood, you know, big destruction mine. Revelation 8:10, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven. And when you go into ICBM missiles, this is what John was referring to the ICBM missiles as, because it looks like, you know, a falling star. In a lot of these cases where you see a falling star, a shooting star, it's actually a chariot, which is a different lesson, you know, but I just wanted to bring that up. Shooting star, you know, that's what he's describing this as, because, you know, he didn't have the terminology of ICBM missile or nuke or nuclear warhead, you know, those terminologies weren't around because those things weren't invented yet. So he used old school terminology to describe what he saw. Revelation 8:10, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, going into Esau, Edom, you know, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of that star is called wormwood. Capital W, because the Spirit of the Lord is going to be in the ICBM missiles, And the third part of the waters became wormwood. America being destroyed, And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. And you're going to have parts of, the oceans that are around Babylon the Great, be fire as well. Because you're going to have people think they're going to be able to escape by going into the water, Oh, it came out a little earlier. But yeah, these nukes, these ICBM missiles, when they're launched, that's what they look like. A shooting star or an alleged shooting star, which came out a little earlier in this lesson. Yep. How an ICBM works. Let's pull this up. This is beautiful right here. Slack it. Oh, yeah. Oh, slack it. But it launches. You got the first stage, the second stage, and then when it goes to the very top, the warhead breaks off, then it hits the destination. Let's keep it going. Second Ezra 15 and 41, fire and hail and flying swords and many waters, that all fields may be full and all rivers and all the abundance of great waters. That fire, hail, and flying swords is talking about the ICBM missiles as well. The missiles are all throughout the scriptures. And they shall break down the cities and the walls, which came out a little earlier in the book of Joel, also the book of Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, Yep, the book of Joel, the book of Jeremiah, the 50th chapter. Yep. Come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing be left. Joel, the 2nd chapter. Yep. Beautiful. Second Ezra 15 and 42, they shall break down the cities and the walls, which came out a little earlier, Joel, the 2nd chapter. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. Beautiful. Second Ezra 15 and 42. They shall break down the cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood, and grass of the meadows, and their corn. Yep. Second Ezra 15 and 43. And they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon, and make her afraid. Babylon the Great. America. Second Ezra 15 and 44. They shall come to her and besiege her, the star, the destroying wind, the tempest, and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and the smoke go up into the heavens being rolled as a scroll, which came out a little earlier. The ICBM missile smoke going all the way up to the heavens, And they that be about her shall bewail her. Second Ezra 15 and 45. And they that remain under her shall do service unto them that have put her in fear. Now, if you read this in the NSRV, Newly Standard Revised Version, Newly Revised Standard Version, NRSV, it's a little clearer. It says 2 Ezra 15:45, and those that survive, and those that survive shall serve those who have destroyed it. Now, if you have understanding, those that survive are going to be the remnants of heathen that are left for slavery. And they're going to serve, the Israelites. And who is actually doing the destroying? It's actually Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, the destroyer, And that's going to be in the kingdom of Yahushai, a.k.a. also known as the kingdom of Israel, And these are all end time prophecies that the Lord's coming back to set up the kingdom. Luke 12:49. I am come to send fire on the earth. And what will I if it be already kindled? And he's coming to send fire on the earth in the form of those missiles. And the Spirit of the Lord is going to be in those missiles, man. But the first fire that he's sending right now is this word going out to declare his coming and to declare the next steps in prophecy. 2 Ezra 9:1, he answered me then. This is the angel Uriel talking to Ezra. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently, capital M. Because the testimony of our Lord Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy, which allows us to measure the time diligently. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest, capital H, talking about Yahushua, will begin to visit the world which he had made. Read again. Then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, will begin to visit the world which he made. And he's beginning to visit this world through the plagues that are happening. Earthquakes, people waxing cold against each other, people killing their own family members, people just going crazy, man. And it's only going to get more turned up, especially as we get later on in this year. A few days ago, they supposedly activated those towers. You know what type of towers I'm talking about. So we'll watch out for the people who bug out because of that. Also, he's visiting this world with the report, the prophets who are speaking every single thing that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is set to do before it happens. That's what it means to prophesy, to say before. 2 Ezra 9:3, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which is happening. You just had a 5.2 earthquake. Haiti. Yep. I just put Haiti in the news. It says earthquake. I think there was another earthquake in Japan, somewhere around there. Yep, 5.3 this morning, Let me see. I think there was an earthquake in Japan recently, too. Somewhere around there. The Pacific. Might have been small. Yep. Yeah, but that little, well, not the little, that explosion or volcano eruption or whatever happened in Tonga, the Pacific, is going to cause a lot of ripple effect, tsunamis, so on and so forth. Japan earthquake, injures 13, you know, that happened a few days ago. And there's always earthquakes happening. Literally, there's one happening right now, you know, constant. Second Ezra 9 and 3. Second Ezra 9 and 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou one understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, through the prophets. Isaiah 46. And let's just get right to the point. Come on, phone. It's lucky for the internet speed. Let's see, what does 9 say? Yep. Remember the things of old, you know, and that said, yep. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, the days of old, even from the beginning. Isaiah 46 and 9. Remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I am the Most High, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not, that are done. It's like it, the things that are not yet done. I'm going to start from the top. Isaiah 46 and 10. Isaiah 46 and 10, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Every single one of these prophecies is going to hit. It's like it. Matthew 24 and 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? And this isn't talking about the end of the world, you know, the earth abideth forever. Ecclesiastes 1 and 4. This is talking about the end of an eon, the end of an age, which we're in right now, the end of Esau, Edom's age. Second Ezra 6 and 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followed? And the men of Yahweh Shem Yahshua were always constantly inquiring of the time that we're living in now. You know, the time where Esau, Edom is set to be abased, you know, and the kingdom of Israel is set to be set up, you know. That's what they asked him, Acts 1 and 6, when Yahweh shall return, you know. When they were therefore come together after Yahweh came back and broke bread with certain men, women, you know, and his followers for 40 days and 40 nights, you know. Acts 1 and 6, when they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? You know, that's the apostles inquiring, you know, like, hey, man, is it time? Ezra inquiring right here. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of thy times? What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Like when, you know? He also inquired in the 57th verse through the 59th verse, you know? The same chapter, you know? Basically asking how long, you know? Second Ezra 6 and 8, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. We're still on Esau's heel. We're on Esau's heel more than ever, letting him know time's about up, man. Pass the sticks, you know? You had your little time on the game, You had your time to rule. It's our turn now, man. And that's the report going out constantly, you know? Through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, men are uploading round the clock, nonstop. Second Ezra 6 and 9, for Esau is the end of the world, the end of this age, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. What age? The age and eon of the kingdom of Israel, man. The kingdom of Yahushua, which is a perpetual rulership. Isaiah 45 and 17. For Israel shall be saved in the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshua with an everlasting salvation. That's forever. Contrary to unpopular belief of men who teach 1,000-year, kingdom and all that bullshit and madness, this is a perpetual rulership. Forever. Forever, ever, forever, ever. Isaiah 45 and 17, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshua with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded. World without end, age without end, eon without end, rulership without end. For here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come, man. Matthew 24 and 3. Tell us what shall be, tell us when shall these things be, or what shall be the sign of thy coming, and the end of the world, the end of the age of Esau, Edom's rulership, the end of Edomite rulership, man, of heathen rulership. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. And you have men deceiving men, which is a part of end time prophecy. You have to have false prophets in the scene. You got to have men standing still for the name and for the doctrine, rightly dividing the word of truth to the best of their ability, man. Also, you got to have the wicked being revealed. Egyptian against the Egyptian. You got to have this man push the charagma, before those ICBM missiles hit. That charagma's got to be pushed. And it's got to be put in your face. And it's got to be made like it's the best thing since sliced bread, which is the next move that's coming down the line. That's the next move in the playbook for Esau Edom. So be on the lookout for that. Matthew 24 and 5, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. And many are coming, in the name, without the complete understanding of the role, man. Taking out scriptures, taking out prophecies, saying not to worship Yahushua, saying the true breakdown of Revelation, the 13th chapter, 16 through 18 is witchcraft. Telling you to take the MOTB. Those are men who are sent to deceive. And the scriptures say the deceive and the deceiver are his, man. If a prophet had been deceived, I, the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai, deceived that prophet. Ezekiel 14 and 9. Matthew 24 and 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. All these things have to come to pass. Wars and rumors of wars, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places, uproars of the people, the mass famine, the famine of the word. The charagma being pushed, man. Esau, Edom coming in with the spiritual demon Satan on him, man. Esau, Edom coming in like a flood, man, and waging war against the woman, the remnant of her seed, and those that keep the testimony of Yahushua, those that keep the commandments of the Lord, and those that have the testimony of Yahushua. Revelation 12 and 17, that has to come to pass, man. Matthew 24 and 7, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, which we're starting to see right now. And there shall be famines and pestilences. What are you living in right now? You know, literally, I had, an incident, in a fast food restaurant, literally just going to get some lunch the other day, man. Dude was sweating me about my mask, man. I put it on, but I tried to play it off later. I forgot it, man. Hey, can I get it? Can I get the food still? And after a little, back and forth, I just put it on, But that shows you where we're at, Pestilences, man. People scared to walk outside, People hiding under the bed and so on and so forth, man. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Matthew 24:8, all these are the beginning of sorrows, the beginning of Jacob's trouble, the beginning signs of the end of this age, the end of this eon. Matthew 24:9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, which is going to happen to some men, servants of prophecy, how about Shem Yahshai? Some will have to be martyrs, but those that die in Hamashiach shall rise first. And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. That means you're going to have the name and know the name and be standing stiff for the name. And that line is being drawn in the sand of those that are doing it and those who aren't, man, because they're coming against the men who are. And those men are starting to wax worse and worse. And we're starting to see who those men are through the Spirit, if you have the eye salve once again. Matthew 24:10, and then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. And many are being offended right now, which is end time prophecy, man. Herdalites, man, popping up left and right. Bug out of lights, man. Elder Manata Zakba is constantly doing videos on them, Elder Karathas out in Vegas, the biblical defenders. It's like Elder, if I didn't get the channel name right. The elder in Baltimore, Karathaza, out in Baltimore, he's constantly doing videos in the bug outs. Every now and then, the Spirit will hop on other brothers to do videos in the bug outs. It's all to defend the doctrine, man. It's not to get on you guys personally. We don't have any personal riff with you guys. We don't even care. We don't wake up thinking about you guys like that, man. But the Spirit hops on men to defend the gospel. And the Spirit hops on men to get on you guys, man. We ain't thinking about y'all like that, but the Spirit will have us hop on you because there's men around you and women around you, children around you who listen to you as well, who may be of the elect, who may need to hear a man getting on them to realize that they're not in the truth. Matthew 24:11, and many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. And the scriptures say that if it were so possible, they shall deceive the very elect. False prophets are part of the movie, man. They got to be here, or else the words of Yahweh Shem Yahshai will come back void. And Yahweh Shem Yahshai is not a man that he shall lie. Matthew 24:12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And we're living in a time right now where wickedness is in its perfection. This man is on TV, telling kids in schools that, men can get pregnant. That's normal. Normalizing bestiality and homosexuality. Just like it's nothing, And that's how you know that, new management is needed in the earth. And new management is on the way, man. And that's where we're professing. New management is coming, man. This restaurant needs to be closed, man. Enough GMOs have been served, man. Time for new management and time for a change of the guard. And the change of the guard is happening. And all these things that are happening are signs that the change of the guard is right around the corner, man. And the apex of that change of the guard is when Yahushua cracks the sky and sets down all power, rule, and authority, man. Matthew 24:13, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. He that endures unto the end. That's the end goal in this thing, man, is to endure unto the end. He that liveth to see the fall of his enemy, man. You know, Sirach 25:7. That's what you want to do. Live to see the fall of this man, man. Last precept, Adon Rathazah, Yahweh Rathazah, this lesson was edifying. Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness, and unto all nations. And the reason why is because you have the elect that are scattered amongst all the nations. And this word is being preached all over the world. You got GMS Tanzania bringing out the word in Swahili, you know. You got brothers in the Philippines. You got brothers in Peru. Brothers in Europe, you know, Holland, Netherlands, UK, you know. You got brothers all over the planet, man. Nigeria, you know, the islands, Canada, all over Babylon the Great, you know, Australia. This word is being preached all over the world, man, through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua. And you got elect all over the world waking up, you know. Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come. And then shall the end come. The end of this age, the end of this eon. And all the signs are here, man. Prophecies are literally jumping out the gym like Jordan, man. You know? So with that, I'd like to close on out. Once again, out on Rathazah, Yahweh Rathazah. Lesson was edifying. And in closing, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors unto the head apostles of Great Millstone, who do rule well and teach well with sound doctrine. Shalom to the elders and the elder bishops of Great Millstone as well. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the hopeful elect. The men, women, and children listening and learning from the servants of prophets, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, and the hearty shalom to those servants of prophets, teaching and preaching in truth and sincerity, giving diligence to make their calling and election sure, building up the tabernacle of David through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Shalom, shalom. And last but not least, the hearty shalom to the men of valor and DTA camps. The first camps I ever heard the truth from, Isaiah 62 verses 6 through 7. Ye that make mention of the Lord Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, keep not silence, and give him no rest day or night. To Jerusalem is a praise in the earth. Shalom. So once again, Lord's will, Adon Rathazah, Yahweh Rathazah, the lesson was edifying. And until next time, Lord's will, Shalom, DTA, Wa Abba Babal. Soon. Shalom.